The following podcast is a presentation of This Is Infamous. Listener discretion is advised.
What's going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to another brand new episode of Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. I'm your host, Billy Donnelly, as always, here at the IWC podcast. And Jesus, so much wrestling for us to talk about this week on the show. So much wrestling. Later on in the show, we're going to be talking about Ring of Honor. We're going to talk New Japan Pro Wrestling. We're going to talk WrestleCircus. So all that on tap, on the back burner, just for a little bit, but we are going to get to it extensively throughout the show. That's how much wrestling there is to talk about this week. We're also going to talk about Glow. That's right, the wrestling-centric Netflix series based on the idea of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, the cult classic 80s wrestling television show, now a Netflix dramatic comedic series. I guess it's a dramedy is what we call it. One of the stars of the show, Britney Young, here this week on Intelligent Wrestling Conversation to talk about how that show came together, her wrestling experience, her exposure to the business. Candid conversation coming up in just a little bit. But before we get there, where I want to start here on this week's show is talking about NXT. Usually during the summertime, when I have a little bit of time carved out, a little bit of time I can play with in my schedule, I head to Orlando. I take in the Full Sail Live experience, and I get to witness NXT in its home base, its home environment, with its home crowd. Some very good people there. Shout out to my friends Cody, Jenny, and Izzy. And I get to see it in its full NXT-ness. This time, we had some tapings as they're going to start building to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. And there are some fantastic matches for you to be aware of in the coming weeks. This week, you're going to get Asuka versus Nikki Cross in, once again, a NXT historic match. The first ever last woman standing match in NXT history. And really, I think, ever in the WWE universe. So there's that for you to look forward to. You have a fantastic match coming up in future weeks between the champion, Bobby Roode, against Roderick Strong with Roddy's wife ringside. So, you know, that is bound to go awry at some point along the way. Great match between Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. Also, Hideo Itami, who I watched get his nose broken. Frustrated once again by the injury bug that continues to sort of hamper his time in NXT, but who still also came back and fought not only the match that ended after about 45 seconds due to his broken nose, but then another match later on. So kudos to the toughness on that guy. So lots of solid NXT programming coming up in the weeks ahead. But where I really wanted to dive in on my NXT experience was something that was announced not too long after last week's show, and that I got to witness firsthand going up to Full Sail this week. And that was the announcement that Mauro Ranallo would be returning into the sort of WWE machine that he had, I won't say fully departed because he was still under contract, but it was sort of removed unceremoniously from his duties as the SmackDown play-by-play announcer for several reasons. Interactions with JBL, which seems to be a real major point of contention, especially for fans who don't take too kindly to people bullying those that they like within the world of professional wrestling. There had been word spread that Vince McMahon wasn't exactly on the up and up with Mauro's style, even though they hired him to do a very certain thing. He does that thing well. He just doesn't necessarily fit their mold for what they think an announcer should be. So a number of things that were swirling as to why Mauro Ranallo would no longer be the voice of SmackDown Live. But last week, just after we finished taping the podcast, we learned that Mauro Ranallo would be brought back and would be now the main voice for NXT. Tom Phillips would stay up, and now Mauro Ranallo would stay in NXT. It would fit well within his schedule, which I know, now as one of the main voices of Bellator MMA, as well as his boxing commitments. But I also thought what Mauro Ranallo does really well is he just calls wrestling. He calls wrestling shows really well. And that's what NXT has been for so very long, is primarily a wrestling show. They're not necessarily trying to attract your eyes or your ears or your dollars to product. They're an offshoot of the major brand, Raw and SmackDown. Those are the real selling points of the WWE universe. NXT is just something different, but at its core, even when it's telling stories, the main selling point of NXT hasn't been sports entertainment, quote unquote. It's been wrestling. And what Mauro Ranallo does really well, as he proved last year when he called the Cruiserweight Classic with Daniel Bryan, is that he calls wrestling really well. So I think Mauro Ranallo is a good fit for NXT. In getting the opportunity to talk to him for a few minutes after the taping, he was very excited about the prospect of calling NXT. He thought this was a good fit for him as well. He thought he would have sort of the freedom and the leeway to do what he does, to sort of showcase what he brings to the table, while still having the opportunity to work on some things and sort of perfect his craft. And I look forward to not only this week, but the weeks ahead to hear Mauro Ranallo with Nigel McGuinness and Percy Watson call NXT action. Because I think it's a match made in heaven. Mauro Ranallo calling this style is a good fit for him. It's a good fit for NXT. And as a result, it's a good fit for the WWE as a whole, because they're taking a talented voice that they brought into the fold anyway, and now making good use of it. They're not taking a square peg and trying to shove it into a round hole. They're taking this square peg and putting it into the square hole. And now as a result, we get an awesome voice as part of an awesome brand. And everybody's happy. So there you go. Mauro Ranallo now calling wrestling in NXT. I'm excited. He's excited. You should be excited. It's good things for everybody all around. Okay, let's shift gears for a little bit now, and let's talk about the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. More specifically, those of Glow, which is built around the 80s female wrestling promotion, the syndicated TV series that was out there for a few years in the 80s. Very character-driven. Now there's a Netflix series built around the concept. It stars Allison Brie. And look, it's 10 episodes. If you haven't binged it yet, you probably should. I watched it a few weeks ago. It is from Jenji Kohan, who is the creator of Orange is the New Black. She is the executive producer here on this particular series. Liz Flahive and Carly Mensch are the creators and showrunners of this show. It is incredibly funny. It's a dramedy of sorts. So there are some funny moments. I will tell you, Mark Maron, as the director of the show, is top-notch and truly exceptional. It really steals the show. Anything where Mark Maron is involved in this particular series is gold, because he is outstanding on Glow. And look, there's some episodes that are better than others. There are some storylines throughout the 10 episodes that are better than others. I found it's uneven at times, and sometimes it can be feel a little repetitive. But with that said, the secondary characters on this show are really strong. And for me, much like it works on Orange is the New Black, the secondary characters really bring the show to life. Because look, there's only so much you can get out of the leads. And in this case, I found the leads interesting at times, not interesting at others because of how their storyline plays out. But the arcs of the secondary characters really make Glow so entertainingly watchable. So I have one of them joining me here on this week's show. So without further ado, via the This Is Infamous hotline, she plays the character of Carmen on the Glow series, as well as the wrestler Machu Picchu on Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. I'd like to welcome Britney Young.
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So I guess the place to start is really sort of just basic knowledge. I mean, before you landed the role of Carmen in Glow, how much did you know about professional wrestling? Were you a fan? Had you watched it before? What was sort of your base of knowledge of what you were getting yourself into?
I mean, I feel like, and I know a lot of people who, so first of all, I was not a fan, to be honest. It wasn't something that I gravitated towards, even though, growing up in the 90s and kind of early 2000s, like all my friends, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, it was very popular amongst my friends growing up, but I never was able to get into it. I didn't really know much about it besides like, oh, okay, essentially these guys, fight in front of an audience in a ring and they have personalities. That's all kind of what I knew. But when we went into training, holy smokes, I felt like someone slapped me across the face and was like, open your eyes because this is an amazing sport. Like I gravitated to it immediately when I started doing it. Chavo Guerrero Jr., who was our wrestling coordinator, did a really, really great job of like slowly introducing us and kind of slowly starting out with training. Like we basically started, learning how to get into the ring and learning how to walk around the ring with our partners. And it just kind of kept on building and building until, now us girls say it, we miss wrestling. It's like become such a like part of our like everyday routine for the past, 6 months, 8 months. So yeah, we went to a couple of wrestling exhibitions too. One specifically for Lucha Underground, which Chavo is a executive producer on, and then our ring technician Marty Elias is their senior ref. And we went there and we're just blown away by these guys. We came back to training the next day and we're like, we want to learn how to do this. We want to do that. So I'm definitely a fan now. And, I regret not getting into it sooner because it really is just a fantastic sport.
Well, let me ask you about that point because there are a lot of people who don't get into it or they watch it and they sort of don't get it. Not that it's for everyone, but they don't necessarily see the appeal. So what was it about it that when you were younger, you didn't necessarily see the appeal of?
I think when I was younger, I think it was just, like, I hate to say it, and I know a lot of fans, they're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe she said it. I just thought it was fake. Yeah. And I didn't really understand why would I want to watch these people, like, not that I want to watch people getting injured, I don't, but like, why would I want to watch these people faking injuries? And then I think when I started doing it, I was like, okay, the intent of this is not to injure people. That's not what this sport is about. And I think once I understood that and understood that this is actually, I know a lot of people besides tag teams, like this is a team sport. You have to be in, acknowledgement with your partner in the ring, knowing exactly what you guys are doing, how you guys are going to do it. And I think that's what really now drew me to it, where I was like, okay, these two people are basically doing this dance together. And if they're not working together, it's not going to come out perfect. And I think that's what, as an adult now, I'm gravitated towards it, where it's more of this sportsmanship quality to it.
Oh, it's funny that you bring that up as the criticism, because that's the one that I hear all the time is that, it's quote unquote fake. But it's no more fake than watching a TV show or a movie.
Exactly.
Those things aren't real either. The Avengers aren't real.
Mm-hmm.
And you bring up sort of your training. Is that really where you sort of got the appreciation for what these men and women do inside the ring? Because even though it is, quote, a work, it still requires a great deal of athleticism, a great deal of concentration. While doing it, is that really where it hits you that like this is hard?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I think I went in and I'll be honest, I went in and was quite nervous and a little bit scared because, I'm a bigger girl and I was looking at all the amazing girls who were cast and I'm like, okay, I'm much larger than them. I don't want to hurt them. Like, what am I going to do? And once Chavo started showing us again, like it's so much a cooperation with the two of you. And then meeting Kia Stevens, who is in our cast, she is Awesome Kong and she is Karma in the WWE. She really helped me a lot and inspired me to be like, wrestling is not about size. It's about you learning how to control your movements. And like you said, the athleticism, it's about basically, like, the way I see it, it's almost like restraining yourself because you could go out there and just be throwing wild punches, but it's when you start actually learning the technique and learning that choreography and the timing to get it right to where, once again, you're not hurting yourself and you're not hurting your partner. I think that's, definitely when we started training, that's when I started getting that appreciation. And especially once Kia, like Chavo looked at me and was like, Kia, take Britney aside, teach her some stuff. And that's when I was really like, okay, this is my body and I can use it any way I want to get these specific moves out and make it look, that I'm this strong beast and that I am really inflicting this pain, but really I'm not, So I think that's where it definitely came out. And I mean, I know like the first day we kind of were just like, like I said, like Chavo was teaching us how to get in the ring and we're like, oh, we can do more stuff than that. And then he really started showing us stuff. And we're like, all right, we're going to take our time and really learn this craft because we need to do it justice. And we, more importantly, wanted to do it justice. And I think that's really where it kicked in.
Yeah. You bring up sort of being of a bigger size than some of the other girls. It is interesting because there are, wrestlers aren't just one type and wrestling isn't just one type, and you have people like Kia and right now there's Nia Jax, and even going back to the early days of Glow, there were bigger women who then are able to use that to portray a particular character, in a different style. So can I guess talk a little bit more about what Kia was able to bring to your experience in sort of getting you comfortable with your body in terms of working with the other girls and using that to your advantage for getting, the character that was written for you over, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, like she was fantastic. I mean, definitely most of it was, like I said, I think one thing with Carmen is she is this shy, kind of almost introverted person, but when she wrestles, it kind of, shows this other side to her. But what I liked about it and what Kia and both Chavo kind of showed me is, I am a bigger girl, but sometimes I'm dainty. Like when I run the ropes, I think Chavo was expecting me to have these huge, long strides. And really, I'm kind of like, bing, bing, And I liked that. He was trying to teach me how to like make it a little bit more. And I was like, you know what, Chavo, I like it because it almost shows that, I can be strong and delicate and I can take you out in a minute. And I think that works a lot to the character because, it's kind of the gimmick of where you kind of think that this huge immovable force is coming in, but really she's, light and delicate, which was just fantastic. But with Kia especially, I think, she really showed me that, like I said, just because you are a bigger person doesn't mean that you have all these strengths and that you can't use moments of weakness to your advantage. Especially, I would train with all these, smaller girls like Allie and Betty who, they're all fantastic, but I really enjoyed the moments where it kind of was, okay, I'm going to let them have a little bit. They're going to have this moment, but I'm going to come 2 seconds later and get you in that headlock and not let you out, and I think it really does tell this story of, I don't want to say David and Goliath because that might be a little bit too much, but I really love the back and forth of having these two people come in and you think it's going to go one way and then it really starts to go another way and it kind of takes you by surprise.
You talk about
That
Chavo. Yeah, no, it does. I mean, wrestling it's storytelling. Matches are storytelling, and especially when you have a size differential between the two women in the ring, there's a natural progression or a natural expectation to how that's going to go. So I totally get your point. And plus, as being larger than an opponent, it requires a different skill set too.
It does,
and to not only to sort of ground fans' expectations, because but to sort of have them suspend disbelief to a certain degree too.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, one thing I realized is I want to work for it. I don't want to go in there and beat some girl in like 2 seconds, because that's not fun for me. Like, what's fun is actually having like a 2-minute match and having it go back and forth where I don't even know who's going to win at the end. And I think that's too something that I was really like, okay, great. I can give this great match and this great, 2 minutes for everybody, instead of just being like, oh, okay, big girl, she's going to win. It's not the case all the time.
You talk about Chavo being on set as a trainer, but there's also a lot of other wrestlers on set. Not besides Kia as part of the cast, but John Hennigan there, who people know as John Larson, Alex Riley, Tyrus, Carlito Colon. How much influence do they have being on set to sort of help advise and coach and direct to make it to make it look legitimate, to whether it's movement or move set, or this wouldn't really happen this way or that wouldn't look this way? How important were having those voices on set to help guide you women through this whole process?
Yeah, I mean, they were fantastic. All the guys you mentioned, everybody came in and really just took it, head on, which was really appreciative. I know for myself, Tyrus and Carlos Colon, they play my brothers in the show. So for me, they were giving me a lot of advice, just being like, okay, like there was one scene where I'm standing there and I'm talking to Sam Sylvia, who's played by Mark Maron, and Tyrus comes over and he's like, you know what? If you're in the ring and he's down here, you wouldn't really be doing that. You'd come down to his level, you talk, and kind of just giving little more tidbits like that really made it more authentic, I think. And we want to make it as authentic as possible. Like you said, like, we want to honor the sport. We want to be respectful. So having them come in and, us just asking them questions, they were very forthcoming. Like, they weren't like, oh, you figure it out. It was like, oh, no, this is exactly how it's done. And just like kind of watching them, because, they all wrestle at some point. So kind of watching them work with our directors and just be like, oh, and Chavo as well, just be like, oh, actually, this feels more natural, or this makes more sense for me to do this, was very inspiring, because I think it was a connection for us as actresses to see them sit there and actually really think about their character and really think about their motivations and what they do, but it's just translated over into this physical sport that is wrestling. So it was really great to have them there. And especially, I mean, like I said, they're all fantastic. And I think they all play characters that are different than what their wrestling personas are in the wrestling business. So I think that's really great.
Carmen has a family legacy in wrestling. Her brothers and her dad are all wrestlers in the show. Did you have any conversations then with Chavo or with Carlito about being a second and third generation wrestler and sort of following in your family's footsteps and the pressures of succeeding, or sort of this idea of go do something else with your life that Carmen seems to experience in the show?
I did. Chavo and I actually talked about it quite a bit, just because, I didn't believe him at first when he told me that, like, he learned to walk in the ring. He was like, oh, no, I was here in the ring and that's where I learned to walk. Like, I was like, I don't believe you. And then I researched his family and looked more into it and was just like, wow, like, the Guerreros are huge. They are so influential in the wrestling industry. And I, didn't know that going in. And after I started researching it, he and I talked a lot. And I think it's a little bit different because, with Chavo, he knew exactly that's what he wanted to do and he went after it. But what he did is that instead of following in his dad's footsteps or even in his uncle's footsteps, he started doing things outside of it, like being a tag team partner with his uncle and, things like that, where he made his own way. And he has, such a spirit about him that I think is so much different than the rest of the Guerrero family, which I really was like, okay, I think I need for Carmen to be exactly like that, where she still wants to honor her family and follow in their footsteps. But you know what? She's going to follow to the side of them instead of right behind them. Carlito and I mean, he is fantastic. He told me a lot about just, again, like how he knew it was what he wanted to do, but he knew he had to at the same time kind of carve out his own path and make it his own and not his father's. So I think I really tried to make Carmen believe that, where, you know, this is what she wants to do, but she has to make it her own in order for her to succeed and for her to love it. And hopefully that came across. I mean, fingers crossed, but I mean, it was really fun. And I feel very honored because I don't know if it's true that, you know, the Guerreros have a little influence on Carmen's background, but like, I'm very honored that I could kind of shed a little bit of a light on what Chavo went through.
How much did you know about women's wrestling and sort of the legacy of the original Glow when you guys started? Because I know you knew about, you know, sort of the Attitude Era and the height of that, you know, the Stone Cold Steve Austin, NWO sort of time. Mm-hmm. But how much did you know sort of going back before that about women's wrestling and sort of what the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling were?
I mean, nothing, to be honest. Like, I really had no idea. And I think what was very smart, our showrunners, our creators, Liz Fallhive and Carly Mensch, when they had the casting send out our audition sides, they also included a little YouTube clip of when the original Glow Girls used to come out. They used to do like their little raps before each match, and they sent one of those clips out. And that was just so smart to me, because not only did it tell me kind of what I was in for, but it also led me down this like YouTube rabbit hole where I just sat there and watched. Like, I think I watched like the first night, like 15 different matches from the Glow series, the original Glow series on YouTube. And I was just like, this is insane, but it's such a great insanity that I need to be a part of it. And I really appreciate that they did that. And, you know, from there it was watching the documentary, and then, you know, Matilda the Hun, she actually kind of talks about it in the documentary about how previous to Glow, you know, women's wrestling was kind of like the sideshow. It was like the one match you go for to kind of just laugh and make fun. But really, here were these women coming out who, you know, at sometimes were better than the men. And, you know, that led to a lot of research for me to kind of just figure out where exactly was our show Glow picking up in the grand scheme of women's wrestling.
There is a real push for diversity in our entertainment right now, especially telling stories of women. And, you know, we've always sort of heard why it can't be the case. You know, people won't go see a movie that's starring a woman or directed by a woman. And then you take a look at something like Wonder Woman, and it just blows all those arguments out of the water. Yes. Can you speak a little bit, I guess, about the importance of these types of characters getting the spotlight, shows built around these types of characters, and why representation matters?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I totally agree with everything you're saying. And I think, you know, unfortunately, we're still in that place where, like you said, people just for some reason don't think women can hold these movies or hold these TV shows. But I think for me, that was one of the reasons I was gravitating towards this project. I mean, we have such a diverse cast. We have women not only, you know, from different backgrounds, we have different ethnicities, we have different sizes, we have women who are from overseas, we have women from the U.S. Like, I think that it's so important to start telling these stories, because guess what? That's what our world is made of. You know, like, and that's what I love about Glow. Like, we're the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. We're not the gorgeous ladies asterisks who have to be 5'10", 120 pounds, blonde hair, white. We're not that. We are about ladies, and ladies come in every different shape, size, color. And I think that it's really important for, you know, just society as a whole, for us to start telling those stories. And yes, you know, sometimes they might fall into kind of these stereotypical or maybe formulaic storylines, but guess what? Like, those still aren't being told, and we need to start breaking through all those boundaries. So I was very honored, you know, to be a part of this extremely diverse cast, because growing up, I never saw girls like me. And, you know, unfortunately now I still don't see girls like me. And when there are women like me on TV screen, they're either bitches or they're the shy girls. You know, they're never these girls who are going out there and they're following their dreams and they're confident and they want to be a part of something big. And I think that is just a great message for us to send out there into the world.
I think you raise a really interesting point and something I want to kind of explore a little bit further with you, because I think the show goes above and beyond to sort of speak about and against stereotypes. And particularly with Glow, when it took place in the 80s, which wasn't exactly the greatest time for not stereotypical characters. And especially in wrestling. I mean, wrestling is sort of known for just simple, broad strokes when it comes to stereotypical characters. But there is sort of these conversations that are had, particularly amongst minorities and women of color, about the message that this sends and whether or not it continues to perpetrate people's real life visions of certain ethnicities, certain backgrounds. So I guess, can you talk a little bit about that and how that, I guess, factors into, once again, representation in Hollywood, TV shows, movies, wrestling, whatever, to sort of help course correct where we are society.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think, this question, I mean, we definitely talked about this a lot on set, us girls. And I think having Kia there really helped us because, we would read the script and we'd be like, what? This is insane. How could anyone get away with having the KKK fighting? Like, how can anyone get away with talking about bombs and wearing, it just was something that was so, like, foreign to us almost. And Kia would sit there and be like, yes, like, this really happens. I mean, you just kind of look at, like, her wrestling name is Awesome Kong, that in itself has racial, tones to it already. And she would just sit there and tell us all these stories and we would just be blown away. And, like, I think kind of like looping into your question, a lot of people have asked me, how do you think, or what do you think your feminist agenda in Glow has to say about the world today? And I'm like, it's not a feminist agenda. It's not a racial agenda. What we're showing you is real things that actually happened in the 1980s. And unfortunately, they're so relatable today because they're still happening. And that's kind of the conversation that we're trying to bring up. Why hasn't in the past 30 years there been any changes to the way we perceive different races or different, genders? And I'm really happy that we do that. Like, to read something in a script and just be like, oh, no way, and then start talking about it, I think is something that especially Hollywood still needs to start doing, because there's a lot of shows out there where it's like, okay, great, we're going to try to feed into this racial stereotype, but we're not going to construct it, deconstruct it. We're just going to leave you at that stereotype. With Glow, what I really appreciate is, yes, we do have these women who are fitting into these stereotypes, talking about welfare or, the black girls always having to be the heels, the white girls always winning, the Russian. I think that we are bringing these up, but then we're also trying to change it. We're also trying to show exactly how these women are reacting to it and exactly how the entertainment business and wrestling, like you said, are reacting to it. And then what can we do to change it? So I think we kind of have the whole story where it's like, here's a stereotype, we're breaking it down, we're going to try to change it into something more positive. Whereas most shows, they just stop at the stereotype,
No, I absolutely 110% agree. And watching it and as a wrestling fan, there are times when things happen and you look at it and you go, yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Can you also elaborate a little bit, I guess, upon sort of the casting process, not necessarily for Glow, but I guess outside of this, and how rough it is for women in particular, because there are a lot of things that are put into play when women are up for roles or auditioning or reading for parts that men don't necessarily deal with. And a lot of people don't either want to hear that and recognize it or just aren't fully aware that it happens. I mean, I'm sure you've had experiences. Every actor seems to have some sort of experience where it's an inappropriate comment or a certain look, or I don't fit this. So I guess, can you talk a little bit about that? And once again, I guess how it factors into the show here, where it is there's a little bit of everybody on display in the series.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, just like you said, like we're still, as women, kind of still hitting these brick walls. We're like, why is this even here? What is happening? I know, for myself, I think one thing that's been a struggle in Hollywood is, just kind of trying to break down these barriers of, physicality. Like I said, I'm a bigger girl, and I've noticed that I don't get called in a lot of times. Like, I will try to tell my agents, like, oh, this is a great role. She's funny, she's witty, she's bubbly. That's me. Let's go for it. But most of the time, I'm only called in for roles that specifically say heavy set, overweight, large stature. Most times, and I'll walk into the room and I see the same 5 women. It's always us 5 women. And I'm like, oh, you girls are here again. I love them. They're very sweet. But it's like, dang, why are we not breaking into rooms where they're just asking for funny, smart, bright women? And I think that's been my major block. And I think it's really unfortunate, but I'm very grateful that there are women like Leslie Jones and Melissa McCarthy who are showing that, it shouldn't matter what your size is. If you're funny flat out. And I think on the opposite, side of it, men who are overweight in this business, they can be dating the pretty sexy model. They can be heads of governments. They can be superheroes. I think that we have this weird, still kind of in our head block where women really can only fit one similar type. And she's either got to be frumpy dumpy and she's going to be pushed to the side, or she's going to be this amazing hot girl. And guess what? She's going to play the amazing girlfriend. So I think we're all kind of, still struggling to just show that women are more than just their bodies and just what their faces look like. And I think that's one great thing about Glow, where it's like, yes, our show is showcasing, women's bodies, but it's all different types. And it's what these bodies can do. They're strong, they're powerful. It's not just here to be looked at, and it's not just here to be in a tight, skinny dress with low cut cleavage. It's here to be strong and powerful and this force. And I think that is fantastic. I mean, this process was great because when they sent out the audition, they're like, we want you to come in no makeup and comfortable clothes. And I was like, that's unheard of in Hollywood. Like you have to come dressed up and looking nice because that's how you're going to get the role. Even if you're coming for someone who's supposed to play, someone down in the gutter, you still have pounds of makeup on because you want to show that you look great on camera. It's insane.
One final question for you. What did you learn about wrestling from this first season of Glow that you maybe hadn't realized before?
I think definitely, like I said earlier, like it's a team sport. And I think that's really something that I appreciate. I love that, it's not all about one person's glory. It's going in there and it's telling this story to make 2 people look good. Sometimes 4 people look good. Sometimes if it's a free-for-all match, everybody looks good. I think that's what I really gravitated. And, just being a performer, I really, really appreciated the learning of the technique and the choreography that went behind, making all these matches and just, the creativity. Like some of these matches that Chavo and our stunt coordinator Shauna were putting together, I was like, how do you guys even think of these things? And for them, it's kind of second nature. So now I'm kind of coming in and just being like, oh, that would have been great to put a stinger right there. That would have been great to do, take you into the turnbuckle. So I think that's what I really appreciate, where it's something that, it's almost like improv where it's different every single time. And that's what makes it great, where it's something new every single time.
Brittany, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. I would talk about wrestling and diversity and all kinds of stuff with you till all hours of the day. So
good. I talk a lot, Billy. So
no, I appreciate it. So thank you for taking the time. Good luck with the series. As both a original Glow fan, I am old enough to remember it, and now I'm going to go down one of those YouTube rabbit holes. And as a wrestling fan and a Netflix fan, I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And as usual, it is time for the Tom Nix portion of the program. That's right. Our expert-in-chief, our resident wrestling guru, Tom Nix is here once again to talk about Well, a lot of stuff. It's a loaded week. Look, we got Ring of Honor on tap. We got New Japan Pro Wrestling on tap. We got WrestleCircus on tap. So much to get through. Tom, are you ready?
I am so ready, Billy Donnelly. This week is super exciting for me. I got back from WrestleCircus on Saturday night. Ring of Honor was the night before. We've got the New Japan Pro Wrestling specials coming up this weekend. It has been a stoked week of wrestling for yours truly.
And it doesn't even begin to touch upon like the Evolve shows that were out there. So I
mean,
like,
didn't even mention them.
Yeah, just tons of stuff to talk about.
That card had Matt Riddle versus Keith Lee, and I haven't even watched it yet. That's how full this week is.
I know, just so much stuff going on. So look, Tom's here. Buckle in because we're gonna blow through a ton of stuff here, and just hit you in the face with tons of wrestling action. So look, look, where I wanted to start with you primarily was talking about Ring of Honor, because we don't talk a lot about Ring of Honor. I mean, look, Ring of Honor is a prominent wrestling company. There's no hiding that. Okay, and Ring of Honor does put on some outstanding shows. They've also uncovered tons of intensely talented talent. So look, it is our faux pas to not talk about Ring of Honor much more regularly than we do. So look, I'll take responsibility for that. It is what it is. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to try and change it, because right now we're going to talk about a lot of Ring of Honor. And that primarily deals with this weekend's Best in the World show, which took place on Friday night, headlined in the main event by the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and versus the reigning, defending champion, Christopher Daniels.
Chris Daniels, I love you, buddy.
Who has been around for a long time, and who
slightly forever.
Yeah, and who is still unbelievably exciting in the ring. I mean, still can go. You put Christopher Daniels in a match on any given night, you're going to get something pretty solid. Christopher Daniels doesn't take nights off. So
no, he does not. He does not mess around. Even at what? I think he's Jericho's age. I think he's like 46 or 47. Like, he's still crushing it. I mean, he's still going like crazy.
Yeah, and that's gonna, and he'll be one of those guys. And look, there was lots of talk earlier in the year or whatnot about whether or not we would ever see Christopher Daniels in the WWE or NXT and whatnot. And I think he even went out of his way to say, like, look, guys, I don't think it's going to happen. Like, the WWE isn't going out of their way to hire 46-year-old rookies to come into their operation and try and make an impact. So Christopher Daniels does his own thing. He's very good at it. And, you know, it was refreshing to see Ring of Honor put the belt on him in recent months anyway, because it was a really solid nod to sort of his contribution to that company.
No, and that's one of those times where, sometimes people go into the Hall of Fame because they just feel like they should, or they give someone a belt because they feel like they earn it, or like an actor, wins an Oscar for something that they didn't. It wasn't a great performance, but they're winning it because they got snubbed how many years ago for a truly great performance. And that's really what this was, but it doesn't. But I'm super glad it happened, because he's still, like we said, he's still delivering amazing performances this late into his career. And if anyone deserves to be champion, like, he puts in the work still. Like, he doesn't just rest on his laurels and say, I'm Chris Daniels. He's still up there busting his butt to be in the top shape that he can be, putting on great matches. So yeah, I was a fan of his title run.
Yeah, this wasn't this wasn't like just one of those career achievements. This was like, like one of those like crowning moments of like, Christopher Daniels is getting ready to hang it up, so let's put the belt on him before he goes. This is like Christopher Daniels still does solid work for the company. Let's acknowledge that, and let's also see what we can build upon that.
Yes.
And where we built to was a defense of the title at Best in the World against the American Nightmare Cody. Now, this is Cody Rhodes, who is unable to use the Cody Rhodes name because of WWE trademark, but who has gone out on the road after walking away from his WWE deal to sort of reestablish himself both as a talent and also sort of creatively, sort of branching out from, I guess, what he described as the limitations of what the WWE was putting upon him. So, as a result, Cody Rhodes has now been everywhere, okay? Cody Rhodes has been in Ring of Honor. Cody Rhodes has been in TNA. Cody Rhodes is going New Japan. Cody Rhodes, I know, is supposed to go to WrestleCircus. Cody Rhodes is wrestling anybody and everybody he wants to wrestle, wherever it is that he feels like he wants to wrestle, in order to make Cody Rhodes a person that people pay attention to. It's sort of like taking the Young Bucks sort of path of like, I don't need a major company to make myself worthwhile. I can do that on my own by just doing everything. And so now,
for real.
Yeah, and so now Cody Rhodes has sort of made himself a major player in Ring of Honor. Gets a main event title shot against Christopher Daniels at Best in the World. And Tom, let everybody know how that went.
Wait, say that again?
I said, let everybody know how that went with him getting his title shot. How Cody Rhodes getting a title shot against Christopher Daniels for the Ring of Honor World Championship at the main event of Best in the World. How did that go? How'd that fare for him?
It went really well for Cody Rhodes. Bullet Club did a couple shenanigans because Bullet Club, spoiler alert, are heels. But it worked out really well for him. And I'm really glad that Cody Rhodes is Ring of Honor champion. Number one, because he's an established face and he has, and by face, I mean like person, not face as in good guy.
Name value.
Yes, he has some name value, but more importantly, like, he, ever since he left WWE, like you said, he's been putting in the work. Like, he's working every weekend. He's traveling to every country that will take him. He's in Japan. He's in Europe. He's in basically every single state that you can possibly have a wrestler, he's wrestling. And I'm glad that he has the opportunity to, quote unquote, carry a company like that on his back for a little while. But honestly, if I'm being totally honest, the reason I'm most excited that he won that belt is that it makes his match with Kazuchika Okada this weekend mean more. He feels like he is now a legit champion, where going into this match, it was kind of like, okay, you're not Kenny. They're not going to do Kenny versus Okada again, a month later. They're going to save it for a bigger event. So this will do in the interim. But now all of a sudden, this feels like champion versus champion. He's the Ring of Honor World Champion. Kazuchika Okada is the IWGP World Champion. This is now something that is important. Whoever wins this match says something about their respective promotion and where they rank in the world. So I'm infinitely more excited to be there for that match than I was literally 5 days ago.
Well, see, you know what I really like about this whole idea is that it just shows that for people who may not be happy in the WWE machine, that there is life outside the WWE for them. They can go out there and they can the sky's the limit for them. And this is a guy who has a legacy to him. This is the son of the late great American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
As Brandy used to announce him, the son of a plumber.
And this has given him such an opportunity to leave WWE, make himself more valuable than he would ever have been just sort of hanging around the mid-card as Stardust, and making himself wanted. We look at those guys who sort of come back to the WWE later. Guys like Drew McIntyre, the Dudleys came back, the Hardys now came back. Like, these are people who came back after the WWE sort of didn't want them around anymore and made it so that the WWE couldn't help but take them again. And what Cody Rhodes...
And that's what Cody's doing too, right?
Yes. No, go ahead.
Well, because the dirt sheet rumor mill was that Cody wanted to go back to being Cody, and the WWE's like, no, you're Stardust. That's what you're doing now. And this makes it clear to the WWE that Cody Rhodes now has brand value. Like, that when Cody Rhodes eventually comes back, he's not going to be an undercard player. This is a world champion who has been, who proved he can play a good guy, has proven he can play a heel. Like, this is someone that when he comes back, and it's not an if, it's a win. And also it's a, hey, maybe pay me twice what you used to be paying me, because now you know what the F I'm worth. It's going to be a big deal, because that was always a big disappointment for me, was like when Cody got fired on Raw and then got his job back at that tag match. Like, he was on the cusp of being such a big deal, and then just it never really came of anything, and he just kind of went back. Like, he's been given shit gimmick after shit gimmick. Remember, like, he had his messed up face, and then he had a mustache, and that was his gimmick, was he have a mustache. And he did wonders with everything he's ever been given. Stardust was phenomenal, but they kept, it just kept him down at the bottom of the card. So this whole experiment that he's been on is basically just to prove to them that they were wasting an incredible talent. And he's still so young. Like, he still has so much time left in his career. I'm just happy for him. I'm happy that this gamble worked for him, and he has never said anything bad about WWE. He hasn't buried them Ryback like a bitch, but like he's going to go back, and he's going to be a world champion at some point. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I think when he left, like, he was very careful about what he said, and then I think he only said one thing, which was basically like, these guys wouldn't let me do anything. Like, I had ideas, and all of those ideas were turned down, and like, where do you want me to go? Like, I just feel like I can't do anything after that. And that's a legitimate thing, because he walked away from what I'm sure was a fairly sizable paycheck in order to take a gamble on himself. And he did. He had the guts to double down on himself and say, I can do this. They don't believe in me, but I believe in myself, and I will prove them wrong. And what this has done along the way is allowed him to reestablish himself as now a major player. Because now he's not just a mid-card guy. He's not just the guy that puts on the face paint and goes and wrestles somebody in the middle of the card and then, signs some autographs, and like, that's it. He has proven that now, hey, I'm a guy who can be at the top of the card. I can wrestle in main events. I can have mic time and more screen time to sort of build a character. And the thing about it too is that I think he's only going to get better, because
he will.
Because the more comfortable he gets in that role, and this is all sort of very new to him as being a main event player, the better he's going to get at it. And the better he gets at it, the either the more face reaction he's going to get, or the more heel heat he's going to get. And as a result, that's going to just build audience sort of engagement in him. So look, I like the call to put it on him at this point in time. I think it's good for Ring of Honor because it gets sort of a young established face as the face of your company, which is, hard to get and sort of allows him to grow with the company too. So, yep. I mean, I'm in favor of it. And I commend Cody Rhodes for doing something that a lot of people just don't have the balls to do, and sort of making good on everything he's done so far.
Yes, absolutely. No, I'm a big fan of that decision. I mean, Christopher Daniels had a great little run. This was the right decision to make. Bullet Club is as popular as it ever has been. Cody is being primed to kind of like maybe become the new face of Bullet Club. Like, I think that New Japan knows that Kenny Omega is not theirs forever. You know, he's theirs for another 1 to 2 years tops. That's why Cody is, you know, a great alternative for that. Because again, like Cody said in a recent tweet that, like, yeah, I love the WWE and I would love to go back there, but I'm making more money doing this than I was with them. There's absolutely no incentive for me to go back. So unless they call him and say, you know, here's this offer, why would he change having the same schedule, making more money, and being a world champion? You wouldn't, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he gets to do everything on his own terms, and that's that's the best way he could possibly operate. And look, let's face it, the Bullet Club. I mean, they got merch to sell on Hot Topic now. Like they got
Bullet Club is it's for life. I'm excited for him.
Yeah. So look, an excellent call. I mean, this is obviously a good long-term strategy for Ring of Honor. It's a good nod for Cody Rhodes. Everybody benefits. I can't see any downside to any of this. So
nope.
Kudos all around.
Good job, Cody.
Yeah, and look, before we get into some more New Japan, I know you want to talk a little bit, just a tiny bit, about WrestleCircus because you were there.
I was there.
I saw you answering my text messages on the broadcast.
Yep, that's true. Look out for that, everybody. If you see me texting, it's me talking to Billy.
That's right.
Enjoy that.
Which I did. I watched live for free on the Twitch stream. And look, I know you were there, and we did exchange some comments throughout the night. This was exhausting to watch.
It was very long. I always love WrestleCircus. They always do put on great shows, but this one was a slog. And it found out through the grapevine that the reason it went so long is because the penultimate main event, the Lucha Brothers versus Red Dragon.
Okay.
The Lucha Brothers apparently arrived 10 to 20 minutes before that match went on. And that's why a lot of the other matches got extended. And why they took a longer break was their talent wasn't there yet.
I mean, I've heard horror stories about Austin, Texas traffic, but if it's going to take that long for guys to just rain check it, I don't know how else to put it, but the show was forever, and wrestling shows should not be that long. Like, if we complain that WrestleMania is 6 hours and that's just too long, WrestleCircus should certainly not feel like it's about 6 hours.
But like I said,
there's a reason for it. I get it.
It's not like I don't think that was their original call. I don't think they went in saying, "Hey guys, we're streaming on Twitch for free. Let's give them 6 hours of wrestling." Because I really because that Luchasaurus John Morrison match was very fun, but it went on for 30 minutes, and it did not need to. It just didn't need to. I mean, it was a 10-minute match at best, and it got lengthened out super long. But again, not their fault. Scheduling happens. Live TV. It's a thing that happens. I'm sure their next event will be closer to the 4 hours they normally go, and everyone will be happy. But again, that was probably their most stacked card from top to bottom. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you start with Guerrillas of Destiny versus Roppongi Vice, you know that your card is stacked to the gills.
Yeah. Well, and I said that to you too when you were there. It was just sometimes these cards are almost too stacked. You know what I mean? Like save a little bit for the next one.
But again, WrestleCircus is. I know. You gotta remember, they haven't even been around a year yet.
I know.
They're still figuring a lot of stuff out. There's a lot of things I wish they'd change. I wish they'd have 8 matches instead of 10 or 11.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I wish they would focus a little more on homegrown storylines and not just only bringing in, A+ talent. But I'm not going to complain about seeing Guerrillas of Destiny in my backyard. I'm not going to complain about it,
I wouldn't expect you to complain about it.
So but again, as in 2 to 3 years time, when they grow and they figure things out more, this is that phase where you're holy shit, I have all this money to spend. Let me just fucking throw it at everything. Like they're just trying to be the biggest they possibly can be in the shortest amount of time. And there's a lot of stuff I would change. There's a lot of stuff I would keep the same. I have never left a show unsatisfied ever, which is, that's about all you can really ask for is, are they delivering? Yes, they are delivering. Sometimes they're too long. Sometimes they have dud matches. That happens too. But generally speaking, I'm super happy that it's close to me and I get to see it every month.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just pace yourself, WrestleCircus.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, just pace yourself. Because when Michael Elgin is like one of the closing matches, and nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Yeah.
Maybe just hold Michael Elgin out for like another date. I'm just saying to make it matter. Because if you're laying out all that cash for Michael Elgin to come in and nobody cares, what was the point? So
I agree.
Yeah. So there you go. But look, we're lucky to get Tom on this week's show anyway. I mean, look, Tom's committed to coming on the show every week and giving us everything. But we're lucky to get him because Tom this week is headed out west to California. He's going to Los Angeles.
California. Going to LA specifically to watch the wrestling.
He's got New Japan Pro Wrestling on the brain.
And man, I got to tell you, I was really tempted to buy those bar wrestling tickets too, but I just don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do that much in a row. I mean, says the guy who saw 13 shows in a weekend. So spoiler, I lie all the time, but it was definitely a challenge to not buy that bar wrestling stuff because that seems like a fun promotion. But yes, I will be in LA. I am 6th row on night 1 and I am 1st row on night 2. So you will definitely see me on your computer screens, people. And yeah. I'm so stoked because I was thinking about it for the podcast. Like, is there anyone that's still on my bucket list to see? Because I've basically seen live, thanks to WrestleCircus and WrestleMania weekends, I've basically seen virtually every amazing wrestler in the world, except for the New Japan Pro people. So this weekend is really going to cross off essentially every single wrestler that I've never gotten to see. The only one that would be left is Minoru Suzuki because he's not coming, and Katsuyori Shibata, which is never going to happen because he broke his brain. Yeah. So other than those two, I'm crossing off Tanahashi, I'm crossing off Omega, I'm crossing off Okada, I'm crossing off Naito, everybody. I'm crossing off the Briscoe brothers. I mean, you name it. I'm super stoked for this weekend because New Japan Pro Wrestling does not fuck around with wrestling, and it's going to be a bunch of people I've never seen before, which is always exciting for me.
Can you do me one favor since you're going to be that close to the ring, Tom? Can you please make a good sign that says, please give the Rainmaker a good shirt? We've talked about this at length. Just make a sign, hold it up, send a message. Just please give this guy a better shirt. Leo Rush has amazing shirts. Why can't the Rainmaker have a better shirt?
He sold out in my size. He sold out in my size. I was going to buy his newest shirt, which is amazing.
His tour, his Rush tour.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, it's a good shirt. It's a very rock and roll shirt. It's a very rock and roll shirt.
Yeah, Leo Rush is the truth, y'all. If you've never seen Leo Rush live, drop what you're doing and find when he's coming next to you because he is not long for the indie world, and he is the fucking truth, y'all.
Yeah, and he's quick as hell. I can only imagine seeing him live. It's blistering pace.
This is a true story about that. He had a ladder match on Saturday, and there was a section where there's 4 people in the match, right? Leo dove out of the ring on my side to go land on somebody, and then someone else dove out of the other side of the ring to go land on the other person. And I was like, that's cool. And then I noticed that there was still one guy in the ring. So how did if there's only 3 people around, how did 2 people dive on each other? And that's when I realized that Leo Rush is so fast.
Yeah, he was the same guy.
I didn't see him get back in the ring and dive out the other side.
Oh, it was if you catch
that's how fast he is.
If you catch the video of it, it was amazing how quickly he darted across the ring. I mean, it was like a full-blown sprint. Quite something to behold. So yes.
Like I literally thought two wrestlers did two dives, and no, it was just Lio Rush being fast as Jesus.
Yeah, same guy. He's like a cross between Fergie and Jesus. Yes, but just before I lose my train of thought, just get a sign, make a nice get a nice whiteboard, just hold it up there. It says, please give the Rainmaker a better shirt.
It's America. Maybe he's coming to America with a brand new design. If you need one, I'll take photos and I'll bring you home a shirt, baby.
I hope so. I hope.
Just trust me. Trust me. If there's anybody who wants to wear a Rainmaker shirt more than me, it's you.
Yeah, it's definitely me. It's definitely me. And look, before we get into this week's homework and then the new assignment, G1 blocks, I believe, have been released. Is that not correct?
Yes. Okay, that is true.
So what are we looking for? Because I also have heard, word gets around to me. I don't follow it. I stick to you for the expertise, but word has also come to me that Kota Ibushi is going to be in the G1 this year. That is correct, and there is a great announcement video. They announce all the participants about a week or so before they announce the blocks, and obviously Tanahashi's in it. And Omega's in it, and all the people that you would expect to be in it. But they save Ibushi for last because he's been gone for almost 2 years. Well, I mean, he's Tiger Mask W, but the character Kota Ibushi has been gone. And when it shows two quick close-ups of his back and then his shirt, and his shirt says Ibushi on it. Once that Ibushi hits, the audience on that video explodes. Like it's almost like they announced John Cena for the G1. So that's going to be incredible that Ibushi is showing up. But yeah, they've announced the blocks. And really your most important thing is that we're going to get a Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ibushi rematch like we saw in the Cruiserweight Classic. That's going to happen. And we'll also get a Tetsuya Naito Tanahashi rematch, not for the IC belt, but they recently fought for the IC belt. But the biggest news is that in the B block, Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada are in the same block, meaning that we are guaranteed Omega Okada 3 at some point this summer. Oh, see, keep your eyes open because who knows what's going to happen, and you know it's going to be outstanding.
But here's the thing, Billy: half-hour time limit.
That's
so
right.
Who knows what'll happen?
Do we have another draw?
If it were me, I would say this is when Kenny goes over. But I mean, they could go to another draw because again, it's going to depend. Again, this is why the G1 is so exciting.
We can fantasy book this till tomorrow.
The G1 is so exciting because does Kenny Omega win again? Does Kazuchika beat him? And then that's why he doesn't get to go to the finals again? Man, who knows? Yeah, the B block is going to be exciting just for that.
See, so keep an eye out. G1 coming. It's coming. Be
excited. I believe it's July 11th to August 13th.
July 11th.
So it's
right around the corner.
It's a month long. So it's going to be, I think there's 18 shows that they do.
Well, look, you know that we're going to be talking extensively about the G1 in future episodes of Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. Yeah. So
basically just get ready for every homework assignment to be something from the G1.
Yeah, so get ready. Okay, but look, we have to cover homework this week also from New Japan. So the assignment for this week was going back to February of this year, the new beginning card. This is with the IWGP Intercontinental Championship on the line. Tetsuya Naito defending the title against Michael Elgin. Tom, lay the groundwork for how this match came about, though.
Oh, God. You're going to maybe go back to something I don't remember at all.
Well, I know we have a fractured orbital bone of Michael Elgin. And,
correct.
And remember, he was also, going back to the previous homework from last week, carrying the Intercontinental Championship at one point in time, not too long ago, having stepped into a ladder match and defeating Kenny Omega for that title.
Correct, where it should have been Tanahashi, but no, it was in fact Elgin who walked away with that on Tanahashi's behalf, even though he stayed champion. This was right after Wrestle Kingdom 11, this year's Wrestle Kingdom, and Naito is like king shit bastard, and he beat Tanahashi this year. So I believe I could be wrong on this, I don't remember the storyline, but Elgin and Tanahashi are besties, and this was the pay-per-view directly after Wrestle Kingdom 11. So Michael Elgin stepped up to take on Tetsuya Naito for the Intercontinental belt, because Tetsuya Naito, his gimmick for the longest time is that he hates you and everything. And he literally doesn't, he carries the belt to the ring, he drags it to the ring, he throws it at the ring.
Total disrespect for the title.
Doesn't give a shit that he has that belt. Doesn't care. It's just like, I have it, you don't. The end of the story. I don't even want this. I don't even want it. I just want you to know that I'm better than it. So he just is an asshole about it. So Elgin, being very, respect and honor and all that stuff, is attempting to win the IC belt back from someone who doesn't even care that he has it. And that's what happens.
Look, here's where we start with this match. And right away, Naito is I love watching him. Okay. He is. He's a great heel, horrible person. So he comes to the ring in full suit. Okay. In full suit, and then proceeds to make everyone wait while he gets undressed for this contest that he feels is clearly beneath him. and he's disrespectful to the crowd. He's disrespectful to his opponent. He's disrespectful to the title. This is a classic, amazing heel, a guy that you want to watch step into the ring and get his ass beat. And that's where the money is in him. And that's, and that's where, especially in this modern day of era where heels are faces and faces are heels and everybody's a tweener. These are people that you want to watch because you either love how despicable they are or you hate how despicable they are and you want to see them punished for it. And so throughout this match, that is sort of the underlying context of Naito versus Elgin. Because as you've mentioned before, if you're sort of American in New Japan Pro Wrestling, you're not really the babyface. You're a stranger in a strange land. But right out of the gate, sort of going right to those structured roles, the crowd is very heavily behind Michael Elgin. And it sets up a nice dynamic because you know who you're rooting for and you know who you're rooting against. And it's very simple to follow. And this is one of those very slow, very methodical, work a body part kind of matches, which I love. And as a result, you're building. And I thought this was a fantastic match. Not as good as some of the other New Japans that we watched in previous weeks, but it's solid. Not as good as the Elgin Omega ladder match, which I pop hardcore for over broken handcuffs. But I like the way that this match is very clearly defined. I like the way that it builds. I like the way that Naito manages to escape with the victory. I'm not always crazy about sort of finishers being kicked out of repeatedly. Always one of my nitpicks. Look, I've given Michael Elgin sort of knocks on this show before for sort of not always committing to selling on the offense that he's taking. Here he sold this leg throughout the whole match. I mean, even limping around the ring. So I thought Naito versus Elgin as part of the new beginning, and I believe it was actually the main event of that card, which once again shows you how much importance New Japan puts on their secondary title. Overall, I thought this was a pretty solid offering, Tom.
I really like this match. I mean, again, it's not as good as the Kenny Omega Okada matches. It's not as good as the Shibata Okada matches, but this match it's just good guy versus bad guy, and it's so good. And there's like, once they ramp up, like the final 10 minutes of this match are just obscene with the amount of kickouts and punishment that Naito and Elgin take and still kick out. I mean, it builds so well.
It is less exciting, but it is really solid fundamentally. Like that's the one thing that I can really put up there is like there's impact towards the end, and as you go throughout the match, like it's not exciting to watch, but it builds very nice. And once again, fundamentally, they're doing all the right things. You know, work the body part, sell the moves. You know, don't, like a guy shouldn't be have his leg worked on for like a half an hour and then just sprint around without any sort of damage done to it. So, I thought this was a solid match. I like Naito as a heel coming out of this thing. I think he plays the part so well, and I dug this match, dude.
It's super fun, man. It's super good. That's it. That's all you can say.
Yeah, that's about it. So with that said, Tom, where are we going with our homework next week? Are we staying in New Japan or are we traveling elsewhere?
Oh, well, what if I told you you're going to do both?
Oh, okay.
I think that our listeners would like to watch the opening contest of WrestleCircus, which is Roppongi Vice versus Guerrillas of Destiny for the WrestleCircus Big Top Tag Team Championships. It is an entirely New Japan match, not being held in New Japan. It's a junior heavyweight team versus a heavyweight team, and I think this match is fun and good and has some decent comedy spots, and also has some really good wrestling from people that are really in control of their characters.
And look, and the benefit of it too is that because it took place in the first few minutes of the WrestleCircus card, as opposed to 14 hours later when the show ended, you're going to get a real hot crowd. Surrounding the match. You're going to get a real hot crowd, very exciting, very energetic, very enthusiastic, as opposed to what they were at the end, which is just flat out exhausted. By the way, I got into a Twitter fight with some guy who was at the WrestleCircus show. I was tweeting about it while I was watching it on the stream. He was apparently in the same room as you, Tom, and he had a very different opinion about how the crowd was towards the end. He's like, I'm here. I've been here for a while. I drove like 2.5 hours to get here, and I'm super excited. And I was like, it's not what it looks like on the stream, dude. And it's not what I'm hearing from a guy front row in the corner who's texting me while all of this is happening. So look, Roppongi. So we have Guerrillas of Destiny versus Roppongi Vice for the Big Top Tag Team Championship. That is the official title, correct?
Yeah, the Big Top Tag Team titles, I believe is what they're called.
Okay, so Roppongi Vice versus Guerrillas of Destiny for the titles at WrestleCircus. Dive Hard with a Vengeance. Tom just got another quarter. That's your homework assignment for next week. So book it.
Yes, it's fun. I think you guys will really enjoy it. And like you said, one of the best things. Hello, Thunder. One of the best things about WrestleCircus is that legit the crowd for that show, when it doesn't go 6 hours, is reliably hot. It is one of the hottest crowds I've ever been a part of, reliably, and it always makes a show better when the crowd's into it.
Yeah, they were just tired by the end, as expected. But it's tough to maintain that level of energy for 29 hours. So look, Tom, I know we gotta let you go because you got a plane to catch to get out to LA for all the New Japan Pro Wrestling. So before I let you go ahead, do your song. Let everybody know where to find you on Twitter.
You can find me at the Tom Nix on Twitter. That's TheTomNix. That's me.
There he goes, Tom Nix. Find him on Twitter. He's going to be out in LA, so if you're at those New Japan shows, keep a lookout for him.
Yeah, if you're at New Japan, come find me. I will hug the crap out of you.
That's right. And then you can both start a totally legitimate protest to get Okada a legitimate shirt. Anywhere.
Right.
Just anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, put that bad boy in Hot Topic.
Okada, you are ostensibly the most important champion in all professional wrestling. Your goddamn shirts are made of garbage. Get your shit together, Okada.
They're so sad. bad. All right. All right. He is our expert in chief, our resident wrestling guru. He is Tom Nix. Tom, always a pleasure, man. Enjoy your trip, and we'll talk when you get back.
Yes, I will. Yep, we will. I will definitely be reporting from these events. It's going to be a blast. Thanks for having me on, as always.
I hope you're all still alive with all that wrestling that smacked you in the face this week. My thanks to the great Tom Nix for joining me this week, as always, as well as to Britney Young for taking her time out to talk about wrestling, Hollywood, a little bit of everything coming out of the Glow series. Make sure you stream that on Netflix. 10 episodes available for you. It's really good. I think you'll enjoy it as either a wrestling fan or even if you're not a wrestling fan. If you need somebody to just sit with you and watch all 10 episodes, as a non-wrestling fan, I think they'll get into the show as well. So Glow on Netflix. Make sure you check it out. And importantly, make sure you check us out as well. Look, you can find us on Twitter at the IWC Show. That's the official Twitter handle of this particular podcast, Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. So make sure you find us on Twitter at the IWC Show. Follow me on Twitter as well at Infamous Kid, Kidd. So Infamous Kid on your Twitter for all my random ramblings and musings and lots of talk about wrestling because that's what I like to do. This podcast, you can find this wherever podcasts can be found. I don't know how you found us now, but whatever is most convenient for you, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, you name it, we can be found there. So all we ask is that you subscribe to the podcast so that it can be delivered to you, hand-delivered every single week so you never miss an episode. Also, rate the show, so give us 5 stars for our 5-star effort, and comment on the show. Let other people know what you like about the show and why they should be listening. So subscribe, rate, comment. That's the trifecta. Get them all done. I'll be thankful if you knock those out for me. I've been your host, Billy Donnelly. This has been Intelligent Wrestling Conversation. Make sure you get your homework done for next week, and we'll be back to talk what I imagine will be a whole lot more wrestling on yet another episode of the IWC podcast. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for listening. I'm out for now. Peace. Intelligent Wrestling Conversation has been a podcast presentation of This Is Infamous.